What's going on, everyone? Gormy here. I have got a new type of video for you guys here today. I know other people have done this in the past, but I am bringing you guys my version of it, in my opinion, what the best scouting regions are in FM22, as scouting regions have become a very important part of being able to bring in some of the best talent in the world and some of the best wonder kids within your saves. Now, in my opinion, it is better to send, say, 3 scouts to a specific region, and you get a bunch of players back within your scout report that are available to sign for you, rather than just say, all right, I'm going to send this guy to Brazil, this guy to England, this guy to Qatar or whatnot. And it'll be much better doing it regionally. So that is what we'll be going over today. I'm going to be doing it for Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, the Oceania, and South America. We're going to go over all of the regions, and I'm going to give a grade to each region. I'm going to flash up the map that I will be looking at and that I will be flashing up, obviously, for you guys to see so that you guys can screenshot it, follow along. But I will be putting up each region on the screen and then the grade that I am giving them shortly after I am done talking about the countries within those regions. But that is what we're going to be going over in today's video. If you guys do happen to enjoy today's video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, as subscribing is 100% free, so why not hit that sub button. I'll be linking the Discord down below if you guys would like to join the Discord, as well as my Twitch if you guys would like to check out my save with Swansea City over on Twitch, which we have 2 of the best wonder kids in the world on that team. So definitely feel free to check it out, as we are now in the Premier League. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. So, first region is Central Africa, from the beautiful continent of Africa. There are very, very good countries within Africa that produce very, very, very good talent. Central Africa can produce some pretty solid players. Countries like Cameroon or Dr. Congo, or sometimes Central African Republic, you can get a player from there. But more often than not, it's going to be Cameroon producing a majority of the players, but Dr. Congo can as well. But for Central Africa, I am giving them a C overall, just because Cameroon kind of carries that region, but you can get the pretty solid player from time to time from Central African Republic or from Dr. Congo. So Central Africa starting off with a C. On to the next region. Next region being East Africa. This region has a lot of countries. So we've got Burundi, Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Mayotte, Reunion, I believe is how you say it, Rwanda, Somalia, South Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zanzibar. To be honest, don't scout here. Don't scout here. It may have a lot of countries, but do not scout there. One country that you can land some decent players from is Kenya. If anyone knows the player Victor Wanyama, he is from Kenya. He's a very, very solid player. Was a very solid player. He has aged. But he is from Kenya. Kenya can produce some solid players from time to time. But I'm going to be giving East Africa a D. Definitely scout Central Africa over East Africa, as Cameroon and Dr. Congo can really, really produce some pretty solid players. I mean, from over time, I mean, you got Samuel Eto'o from Cameroon. So, I mean, why not try and scout a country that produced one of the best African players of all time? But now, on to the next one. Next, we have North Africa, the land of just nothing but golden generations currently. So Algeria has some very, very talented players such as Riyad Mahrez and Said Ben Rama currently in reality. But over time, Algeria produced very, very good players. Another country, Egypt, I mean, Mohamed Salah. So, I mean, how can you not want to potentially try and find the next Mohamed Salah? You've also got Libya, Morocco, which can produce some solid players from time to time, Sudan, and Tunisia, which Tunisia can really surprise some people. There are some very solid players that come out of Tunisia within people's saves. So, North Africa is getting a A from me. I really, really like what you can get from North Africa. And I mean, potential wise, it is one of the best within the game for being able to get Algerians, Egyptians, and Moroccans. They're all very, very solid. But on to the next. Next, we go to South Africa, which has a lot of countries once again. They've got Angola, Botswana, Comoros, Eswatini, Lesotho, Madagascar, Malawi, Mauritius, I think is how you say it, Mozambique, Namibia, I think, or Namibia. There we go. Not trying that one. South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. So some challenging countries right there to pronounce, but there are some solid countries you can get some pretty decent players from, but none more so than South Africa. South Africa can produce some absolute gems within your saves, so definitely do not sleep on South Africa. If you are trying to kind of get players from all corners of the world, I definitely suggest trying to get players from South Africa, because I'm going to be giving Southern Africa a C minus, but it is being carried by South Africa. Would have probably gotten a D if South Africa was not in there, but South Africa is so good that, I mean, it carries them to C minus. But now on to the next one, which the next one being Western Africa. Western Africa is the best place to scout within the continent of Africa, and some would say within the world. You can get very, very cheap players from here, whether they are current players or new gen / region type players. It's got countries of Benin, Burkina Faso, Cape Verde, the Ivory Coast, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, I think is how you say it, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Togo. I mean, some of those countries, a lot of us already know, produce very, very solid players. I mean, Ivory Coast with Didier Drogba. You've got Ghana producing some pretty solid players. Same with Guinea, Mali, Nigeria produce some of the best players in the world. In my opinion, the best African country right now, just if you look at the team talent-wise, Senegal are very, very good. So definitely give Western Africa a go if you are scouting within the continent of Africa, as Western Africa is getting the first A+ of this region. But yeah, they are a very, very good region to scout. I highly suggest trying to get some players from there. I mean, they have some very solid clubs within those countries as well. One country that I will say don't sleep on is Burkina Faso. You can get some pretty solid players from there. But now, moving continents, we move on to Asia. So here we are in Asia, starting in Central Asia. We've got Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. Just coming right out and say it, do not scout here. Definitely don't scout here. If you want to try and find the one golden child out of these countries, go ahead and do it. Well, definitely send me a picture of the player, because I would love to see him. But Central Asia is getting an F. I highly suggest steering clear of this area. But now we move on to the next one, which next one being East Asia. It is China, Chinese Taipei, Guam, Hong Kong, Japan, Macau, Mongolia, North Korea, Northern Marianas, and South Korea. Now, this region is getting a B. I was going to give it an A, honestly, because in my opinion, this is like one of the best areas in Asia that you can get players from, because, I mean, China can produce some very, very solid players. Someone put in my Discord the other day a Chinese new gen that they have, and he is absolutely unbelievable. Another country that can produce some pretty solid players is Japan. One of my favorite players growing up that I would watch international play-wise was Keisuke Honda, and he was a very, very good player. Shinji Okazaki, another one that was a fun player to watch. But another area that you can get some solid players from is South Korea. South Korea has its own league. I mean, Human Sun is from there. So if you want to try and get the next Human Sun, catch lightning in a bottle, definitely go ahead and scout there. But East Asia getting a B from me. Next, we move to the Middle East. The Middle East consists of Afghanistan, Bahrain, Iran, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Palestine, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, the UAE, aka United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. Now, from the Middle East, they're getting a B for me because you can get some pretty solid players from these areas. Afghanistan can produce some pretty solid players, same with Iran and Iraq. Israel has some pretty solid clubs there that are very good youth-wise. So definitely look for some Israeli wonder kids from there in your saves. Qatar can produce some solid players. Saudi Arabia is probably the best place to get players from out of them. And the UAE and Syria can produce some very solid players as well. But overall, from the Middle East, I would definitely say Saudi Arabia and Israel are going to be your go-tos, as well as Afghanistan, getting players from those countries. But all of these countries here in the Middle East can surprise you with some wonder kids and some pretty solid new gens over time. They're very, very cheap a majority of the time, but will want some higher wages. Whereas compared to Africa, with a lot of the African nations, the players will be cheap and want cheap wages. But Middle East players will be cheap, but higher wages. But Middle East, I rate as a B. I would suggest scouting there for sure. Next, we have South Asia, which is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. If you are wanting to go and do a very, very tough save in South Asia and only scout from these countries, that is the only time I could see it being a viable area to scout from. Or if you were trying to find the one wonder kid from, say, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, India, Nepal, any of those countries, and try and make it to where they can carry their team to a potential World Cup appearance or whatnot, maybe try and give it a go. But otherwise, I would not scout there. I am giving South Asia a D-. Next, we have Southeast Asia, and we have got Australia, Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and Vietnam. Now, Australia obviously is the big dog in this region. Australia will definitely carry this region for the grade I'll give them. Vietnam is another country that you can get some pretty solid players from. Same with Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, sometimes Thailand or Singapore. But Australia is where you're going to find the gems. I found a gem in my save with Olsen's FK when I was in Norway, and he was absolutely phenomenal. His name was Bobby Crawley. He was very, very good. So Australia can definitely provide some very cheap options for you. And sometimes the clubs, if you're trying to get players on loan, won't even tell you, they won't ask for you to pay for any of the players' wage. They'll just pay it themselves. So it's kind of nice getting players from Australia. But Southeast Asia is getting a D+ from me. And the only reason why it is not lower is because of Australia. But that concludes Asia. Now we're moving on to the football machine of Europe. So here, starting off Europe, we start with Central Europe. Now, this area can produce some of the best players in the world. You've got Austria, Belgium, Czech Republic, Germany, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Poland, Slovakia, and Switzerland. I mean, all of those countries, besides, I'd say, Liechtenstein and Luxembourg, will produce at least one golden child throughout your saves, depending how long your saves are. But they produce very, very good talent. I mean, Austria have RB Salzburg, my bad. There's a lot of Red Bull teams, sorry. But they produce some very, very good players like Luka Susic, plus Karim Adeyemi and Benjamin Sesko, who I have on Swansea, in my Swansea save on Twitch. They produce very, very good players from that club. Belgium, I mean, they have a current golden generation. Maybe try and get the next golden generation through scouting through there. The Czech Republic, you can get some very good players. Germany, I mean, enough said. It's Germany. The Netherlands, same thing. Poland, try and find the next Lewandowski. Slovakia and Switzerland, they produce some pretty solid players as well. But Central Europe is getting an A+ for me. This is one of the best places to scout within Europe. It has everything. I mean, you cannot go wrong with scouting Central Europe. On to the next. Next being Eastern Europe. It consists of Bulgaria, Hungary, Moldova, Romania, and Serbia. Now, this may surprise some people. I'm giving Eastern Europe a B. The reason why I'm giving Eastern Europe a B is because you can get very solid players from Hungary, Romania, and Serbia. Most definitely from Serbia. Serbian Wonder Kids are like the next coming of Messi and Ronaldo sometimes within FM. I had a couple of them when I was managing in Norway. They produce very, very good players. Same with Romania. I actually have the Romanian Neymar with my AFK team. Hungary produces very solid players as well. Bulgaria and Moldova can surprise you also. But Eastern Europe getting a B because, I mean, even though it consists of only 5 countries, you can get very, very solid players from these countries, and they will be much cheaper than the players that you get from Central Europe. Next, we go to Northeastern Europe, which consists of Belarus, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Russia, and the Ukraine. Now, Latvia just recently had their league added into FM, so I'm pretty sure you can manage in every one of these countries besides Estonia. But obviously, if you get a database, you can manage there. But Belarus, Russia, and the Ukraine can produce some pretty solid players, more so Russia and the Ukraine. You can get absolute gems for cheap from those countries. A player that I really like from Russia, at least, is Arsen Zakarian. He plays for Dynamo Moscow. Very, very good young player. Dynamo Moscow produces amazing regens. In the Ukraine, you've got Shakhtar Donetsk. They have a goalkeeper by the name of Anatoly Trubin, who is absolutely phenomenal. Last year for me, in a Dynamo Moscow save, he won the European Golden Boy as a goalkeeper. He won Goalkeeper of the Year as well in the Russian Premier League. He was absolutely unbelievable, but you can get very good players in the Ukraine, mainly from Shakhtar Donetsk and Dynamo Kyiv. But in Russia, Russian clubs produce a lot of very, very good talents all over the place. But Northeastern Europe is getting a B from me because, I mean, they produce very, very solid talent. Do not sleep on Northeastern Europe. Now we go to Northern Europe, which ideally is Scandinavia. It consists of Denmark, the Faroe Islands, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden. I love this area. Absolutely love this area. You can get some of the best talents in the world for so cheap. I mean, when I was managing in Norway, I couldn't believe some of the prices that some of the players were going for. You then get them in, you see their ratings, and it's like, how is this guy going for 1 million, 2 million, sometimes as low as 500K when they're unreal talents, when you could be in a place like Germany, England, France, and they would go for 5 times as much. It's a very, very underrated place to scout. Denmark will produce a lot of the good talents, Norway and Sweden as well, but do not sleep on Iceland and Finland. Faroe Islands, they might produce 1 or 2 good players throughout time, but Finland and Iceland, don't sleep on those countries. They can produce some very solid ones, but Norway, Sweden, and Denmark are where you're going to find your golden generations from those countries. Denmark, I actually have a kid that was just blowing me away with what he could do. And he was a regen. He was absolutely phenomenal. But Northern Europe getting an A for me. Definitely scout in Northern Europe. Next, we move to Southeastern Europe, which consists of Armenia, Azerbaijan, Cyprus, Georgia, Greece, North Macedonia, and Turkey. Now, they get the lowest grade, in my opinion, out of Europe. They get a C. Turkey produce very, very good players. Greece can produce some good players. North Macedonia might produce a good player every now and then. But Georgia, honestly, don't sleep on Georgia. They produce some very, very solid players. In my Norway save, they produced an absolute, just beast. I was trying to sign him on a free, but he ended up going to PSG. Gee, imagine that. But they can produce some very, very good players. I currently have a goalkeeper from there. Mamardashvili, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He is very, very good. But Southeastern Europe gets a C from me just because, I mean, you kind of have to rely on Georgia, Greece, and Turkey to produce the talents out of there. But you can get some solid players from North Macedonia and Cyprus from time to time, and then maybe that one guy from Azerbaijan or Armenia. But if you want to try and get some players from these areas, go ahead, scout them. You can't go wrong with it, but there are definitely better options within Europe than Southeastern Europe. All right, so now we move on to South Europe, which consists of Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Italy, Kosovo, Malta, Montenegro, San Marino, and Slovenia. I'm giving South Europe a B minus. People are probably thinking, all right, Gormy is crazy. It has Italy and Croatia. There's no way it can be a B minus. It's a B minus because they are very, very good countries surrounded by not a whole lot within this region. I mean, Bosnia and Herzegovina, that is the next best country after them too. Then Kosovo and Albania, and then Slovenia after that most likely. Or actually, no, yeah, I'll put Slovenia with Kosovo and Albania. But I mean, if you scout South Europe, it's because you're trying to get Italian and Croatian talents. But I mean, who knows? You might get some pretty solid returns from some of these other countries within South Europe. But for me, South Europe gets a B minus. Next, we have UK and Ireland, which has England, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. It's getting an A because, I mean, this area produces some of the best talents in the world within FM. But it is one of the most expensive areas in the world to get players from. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but there is a thing called an English player tax that doesn't exist, but it exists. It definitely does. Because you can find a player that in England will cost you $2 million, but if you go to Norway or Iceland, they'll cost you $200,000 to $500,000. I mean that player in Norway or Iceland could even be 2 times better than the player from England or Scotland or Wales. But because they're from those areas, they're going to cost more, which is unfortunate. But I mean, those players through time will definitely become very, very solid. So I mean, you're going to pay for what you get, but sometimes you do pay a extraordinary amount and don't get a whole lot in return. I am a victim of that with one of my center backs with my Swansea save, and I have since learned. But yeah, UK and Ireland getting an A. Just watch those price tags. And here we are at the last region within Europe, Western Europe, which consists of Andorra, France, Gibraltar, Portugal, and Spain. This area gets an A. France, Portugal, and Spain are some of the best producers and talent in the world. They are all very, very good. They have such good clubs, such good academies within those countries. I mean, how can you not give this area an A? They are very, very good at producing regens, new gens, current talent. They're very, very good. So Western Europe gets an A. Pretty self-explanatory. Now we move on to North America. So we arrive at North America with the Caribbean. Now the Caribbean has a lot of countries which are essentially a lot of islands. So I'm going to do my best to pronounce a lot of these countries' names, but here we go. We got Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Aruba, the Bahamas, Bermuda, Bonaire, British Virgin Islands, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, Curacao, I don't know which one, Dominica, Dominican Republic, Grenada, Guadalupe, Haiti, Jamaica, Martinique, Montserrat, Puerto Rico, St. Bartholomew, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Martin, St. Vincent and the Grenada something, Trinidad and Tobago, Turks and Caicos Islands, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. This region, low-key, is amazing. It's getting a B minus though, just because of how many countries there are. But from countries like Puerto Rico, Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, the Bahamas. You can get some very, very solid players from these areas. Same with Trinidad and Tobago. Now, it's really hit and miss from some of those, but Puerto Rico and Jamaica will produce a lot of pretty solid players. So this region gets a B minus from me. Do not sleep on this region. Definitely send a scout here once or twice, just to see what you can get back. But yeah, moving on to the next region, which that next region is Central America, which consists of Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama. Now, Central America is going to get a C minus from me, but Costa Rica can produce some pretty solid players. So can Honduras and Panama, and sometimes El Salvador and Guatemala. But these are those countries that are kind of hit or miss. You're not going to get amazing players from them all the time, like you will in Europe, Africa, some of the Asian countries. But this is a somewhat solid area where if you want to, like I said earlier, get some players that are kind of off the grid from all corners of the world, you can try and get some players from these Central American countries for sure. But now, on to the big boys and North America. Which North America, as I'm sure everybody knows, consists of Canada, Mexico, St. Pierre, and not going to butcher that, so I'm not going to attempt it, and the United States. Honestly, I don't know if I'm being hard on this region or not, but I'm giving them the same rating I gave the Caribbean, which is a B minus. Canada, I don't know if you get the players from the MLS clubs from Canada or if it's just from the Canadian leagues, because I personally have never really scouted there, but Mexico and the US, I have. Mexico is definitely going to be where you get some of the best talents out of this region, but the U.S., you can get some pretty solid talents as well. In my opinion, you go for the players, though, on free contracts, because some of these clubs are going to demand outrageous fees for the players that they just are not worth. So that is why it gets B minus. You can get some solid talents from these countries, but try and get them on freeze rather than paying the outrageous amounts of money that the clubs will want for their players. But now we move on to the next region, which is Oceania. So, Oceania consists of American Samoa, the Cook Islands, Fiji, Kiribati, Micronesia, New Caledonia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tahiti, Tonga, Tuvalu, Vanuatu, Wallis, and Futuna Islands. It's one big group of islands. In all honesty, I thought that New Zealand would have been part of Southeast Asia with Australia, but it's not. So they are a part of Oceania. And New Zealand is probably the best place to get talents from within this region. American Samoa might produce some players from time to time. Papua New Guinea, same thing. Solomon Islands will produce a player every now and then. But, I mean, you have to rely heavily on New Zealand to produce talents if you plan on scouting within this region. That is why it gets a D minus. Reason why it doesn't get an F is because New Zealand is too good of a country, and it carries them to that D minus. But if it was not there, this would definitely be another region like Central Asia that is not worth scouting. But if you're trying to get some New Zealanders within your teams, definitely scout here. But if not, I don't think it's worth it in my opinion. But now we move on to the last region, which is, the region of all regions, really, South America. So, with South America, there's South America North and South America South. We are starting with South America North. South America North has Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, French Guyana, Peru, Suriname, and Venezuela. Colombia and Peru are absolutely, hands down, some of the best regions or countries to be scouted within FM22. Colombia produce very, very good players, and Peru produce, there we go, very good players as well. So definitely give South America North a go. I'm giving them a B because those two countries are absolutely unbelievable with the players that they produce. Venezuela can produce very solid players as well, as can Ecuador. So majority of the time when you get good players back from that region, it is going to be those four countries. But now we move on to the holy grail of regions, and that is South America South. South America South consists of Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, and Uruguay. These countries produce, in my opinion, the best talents in the game. You will pay big bucks for these talents, but they are most definitely worth it. I mean, you've got the country of Diego Maradona and Lionel Messi. You got the country of Neymar. You have the country of Alexis Sanchez. The country of Luis Suarez. I mean, you can't go wrong with this region. I mean, Paraguay will be the one oddball out that doesn't produce like absolute units for you year in, year out. Because even when it's a mediocre year from this region, it's still better than half of the other regions in this game. It's a very, very sought after area to scout in, and very, very sought after area to have players from. Because, I mean, the kids that are produced out of there are just absolutely phenomenal and grow into very, very solid players, whether they are attackers, midfielders, defenders, or even a goalkeeper. They turn into very, very good players from this region. So South America South is getting an A+. It is absolutely unbelievable, this region. Highly, highly suggest you always have at least, bare minimum, 2 scouts within that region. If you can have 3, 4, 5 scouts within that region, potentially scouting every single country almost, I would do it, because you can get some very, very good players from this region that will help you compete with the big dogs throughout your save. But that does it, everybody. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. It's a very different video for me to do. I know it's a bit of a longer one as well, but I had to really go in depth with a lot of these. But a lot of these regions, I know I'm going to be scouting myself, and I suggest you guys go after some of them as well. Definitely look into Northern Europe, Western Africa, where is it? East Asia. Definitely look into those areas. You'll be surprised with some of the players that come back. Highly, highly suggest looking into those areas. But if you guys did enjoy today's video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, as subscribing is 100% free. If you guys like to check out the Discord and Twitch, they are linked down below. But with that being said, until next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.